This is John Gonzalez del Solar from Fan Guitar and Ukulele in Richmond, Virginia. And I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about this new uke from Lanikai. It's called a TunaUke. And basically represents the next step, I think, in evolution of intonation in regards to this instrument. What the difference between this and everything else out there at the moment is these movable saddle pieces. So each one of these little guides that the string is passing over can be bumped forward or moved backwards to optimize the string length. And then at this end, the nut, there's little, you can see each little string where it passes through the nut has a little indentation, which further optimizes this string length. And the goal here with this is to fix some of the intonation problems that are common with this kind of instrument. And by that I mean anything that has strings and frets. They all kind of suffer from this less than optimum scenario where you can tune, for example, this string is a C, you can tune that to a C, and then if you fret different notes on it, like a D, E, F, some of the notes will be sharp or flat. You don't get an exactly in tune note at every different position on the neck. And this sort of a movable saddle piece and compensated nut scenario is it's not a new technology in the sense that it's been used on electric guitars and basses for years, but it's this is the first time, at least I've seen it on any uke, and it works very well. And what I want to do is examine how this works and show you how you can make these kind of adjustments at your house without, any. The only tools I'm going to use is a Lanikai ClipOn Chromatic tuner and a couple of screwdrivers. So it's certainly an adjustment that can be made without the help of some kind of a tech or anything like that. And I think that's part of the value of this instrument. If you have to take it into the shop and pay somebody to make those adjustments for you, well, it takes away from the value of it. But we'll go through it, and I'm going to teach you how to do that from the comfort of your own home. And on a side note, another value of this is it allows you to get more string life out of a set of strings, because as the strings age, the intonation is going to slip and change a little bit, so you can constantly be dialing it in and optimizing it for the set of strings as it ages, and you get a little bit more string life and a much more in tune sounding instrument. So let's take a look at how we're going to do it. Okay, so what we're looking at here is an anonymous ukulele, and this is kind of I chose something that doesn't have a brand name on it because I don't want to malign anything out there. Almost anything is going to have some intonation issues. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about here. That's the G, sitting pretty solidly. Got that Lanikai tuner here. So I'm just going to fret the second fret, and that A is quite a bit sharp. Let's take a look at the C string. Get this down a little bit. Sitting on C pretty well. That D is also pretty sharp. There's the E, F sharp, quite a bit sharp. That B is like, ooh, that thing's serious right there. And you'll see this for different parts of the neck. Now let's move up C, D, E, F. Here's a G. Getting real sharp by the time we get up to that point in the fretboard. So there's some string length issues that with this kind of a uke where you have a standard tailpiece like that and a non-compensated nut, there's really nothing you can do. It's made to be best in this area, but we're working with something that's much less than optimum. So let's take a look now at the Lanikai, and I've kind of dialed this one in somewhat so it's pretty right on, but here, let's switch ukes over and take a look at it. Okay, so now what we're looking at is Lanikai, the TunaUke, and you can see here these saddle pieces. It's a little jagged, like that's helping with the string length issue where it's sort of recessed a little bit, and you know, some more than others. And then here on this end is our movable saddle pieces. This one I've kind of dialed in already. Should be in tune, yeah. So now let's take a look at the A. You can see is, you know, the other uke, it was sharp, you know, almost into the 20 cents sharp area. Let's take a look at the C. A little bit sharp. I could probably dial that in a little bit better. It's kind of leaning just slightly sharp, you know. Could make that a little bit better, but we have the option to do so. Here's the E, F sharp. That's pretty solid. A, B, right on. You know, so you're looking at a much more idealized scenario. Let's move up here. So we're going C, D, E, F, G. Even higher up on the fretboard, where on the other uke it was going, you know, almost up into the 50 cents sharp area of this tuner. Very extreme, unusable if you're playing with other people. So the proof is in the proverbial pudding. You can see it in action. So let's talk a little bit now about how to go about compensating this sort of thing. So here, Lanikai ClipOn Chromatic Tuner, tool number 1. What I'm going to be using to knock the little saddle pieces back and forth is just a flathead screwdriver. I put a little tape on it so as not to mar the saddles, but you know, you get backups, so it's all good. Don't stress. They give you an extra set, and these ones are a little bit higher action, I think. So, you know, so you can optimize it. It comes really well set up. I haven't done anything to this at all. It's actually strung with the exact same set of strings that the other uke that we were looking at is too, and they're both brand new sets. So, all things being equal, here we go. So first I'm going to take a look. It's in tune, okay. A little bit flat maybe. That's pretty good. Definitely getting a little flat. So what we're going to do is tap this around and kind of see what happens. And typically as you move it forward, it's going to get a little sharper in this area, and as you move the saddle piece backward, it's going to get a little bit flat. But what I'm going to do is shift it, just tapping it lightly, very little pressure, and then sure it's in tune. See where we're at up here. Yeah, a little bit. It's going to get a little sharp up there, and you know, you kind of get a window of in tune area on the fretboard. So if you play a lot of open chords, you know, or if most of your chords kind of fall behind the 5th fret, well, you know, you want to optimize the string for that. If you play it higher up on the neck, some more gymnastic sort of playing, you know, you might shift that in tune window a little bit farther up to catch some of these, especially on the higher strings where, you know, you're probably not going to play that note very much, but you might very well play these notes up there. So I'm going to tap it all the way forward, and we'll take a look at what happens. And it's just, you know, really light tap. Basically all the way to the front of this bridge saddle, and get it back in tune. There's our G. So now we're pretty. Once we get up really higher, it's a little bit out, but let's take a look at the next string. Oh, little catch in there we go. You know, so now I'm going to tap this one all the way forward, and let's take a look at what happens. Just went all the way to the front, just for demonstration purposes only. There's our C. See, now I've pushed it all the way forward. It's getting a little bit sharp. A little too far on that one. So, let's tap it back a little and find that little... Well, let's go all the way back. I'm going to push it all the way back to the... as far back as it can go. A little bit too far. And you want to... The saddle pieces can rock very slightly back and, you know, they can get like a little bit off kilter. Just push them down. It's not really like a problem or anything. You just got to make sure, you know, probably before you tune it up, after making the adjustment, just knock it flat. So here is our C now, and now we've lengthened the string, pushed it all the way back. It's a little bit flat. You know, those were the two extremes, and now let's find the little sweet spot. Still, maybe just a little flat. I'll go a little bit more. Okay. Yeah. It's a little flat up there. So now our in tune window is kind of far back this way. So let's keep on trucking a little bit. A little better up there. So if we wanted to maybe try to get this up to the 7th fret to be pretty nicely accurate, might go a little bit more. Pretty close. Don't want to go so far that it gets sharp in the first few frets, but I think that'll probably do it. So there's our 7th fret. Everything's looking pretty in tune on that string. So you can see how it's pretty easy to sort of dial this in, and you know, it's a choice that you need to make as far as where you want it to be most in tune. If you mostly strum chords and sing songs or whatever it might be, this is the area to focus on. If you do a lot of melodic stuff or chord melody things, you know, you might shift it up, and you can try different things. Check it with different octave positions on, you know, a little experimentation. But once you do it a few times, it becomes really easy to do, and as your strings age, you know, you might find you need to do it. We talked a little bit about that earlier, how you get little micro indentations on the back of the string, and you know, you may have to make further adjustments, but you get a lot more life out of your strings, and you know, especially on, this is a soprano size. The TunaUkes come in soprano, concert, tenor, and I think they even have a baritone. But you know, so regardless of the size, I think the soprano neck is probably the biggest culprit as far as having fairly poor intonation. Because, you know, when you get a shorter string length, a smaller fretboard, it just magnifies any little inconsistencies, you know, so, but it works equally well on any of the different sizes, and, you know, very much an innovation. Okay, once again, this is John Gonzalez from Fan Guitar and Ukulele in Richmond, Virginia. Lanikai TunaUke. Check them out. Hopefully this was helpful, and your life is going to be filled with a much more in-tune ukulele neck. Thanks.